Since January 2017, Up Yout has trained over 350 young people in all 14 parishes in advocacy, the Constitution, and governance. We have put 1,000 youth face-to-face with over 40 elected officials and leaders, including members of parliament, ministers, councillors, and representatives from government agencies. Our baseline survey, conducted between February 2017 to April 2017, with 4,812 youth aged 14 to 24 across the island, reveals that 65% of those eligible to vote have never voted. 80% believed many or most politicians are corrupt. Additionally, the most pressing issue for youth in every parish except for St. James was lack of job opportunities. The biggest issue for St. James was crime and violence. Our series of town halls and workshops is empowering young people to advocate for solutions to the problems they identify in their parish. This is all part of our project, Youth Empowerment Through Dialogue, which is funded by the United Nations Democracy Fund, UNDEF. Up Yout is providing a platform for Jamaican youth aged 14 to 24 to be empowered and encouraging them to demand accountability from local and national representatives elected to serve. We encourage youth to be a part of the democratic process and remind them that their voice matters. This is the 14th stop of the Up Yout Island-wide Youth Empowerment Through Dialogue Tour. Welcome Kingston and St. Andrew to our televised National Town Hall.
Hello young people, how you feeling? Up Yout, Miss Effie? Today is a good day. Can I hear you say it's a good day? It's a good day. My name is Empress Golding, creator of this project. I am the person standing on the front line with my team, believing in you and giving you an opportunity to have a voice, to get face to face with your elected officials, because your voice matters. Say, my voice matters. Up Yout, as a part of continuing its work with youth development or in youth development in Jamaica, rolled out a 2-year project called Youth Empowerment Through Dialogue, funded by the United Nations Democracy Fund, as you heard. We are providing a platform for you, Jamaican youth aged 14 to 24, to advocate for workable solutions for the issues affecting you. And we encourage you, young people, to demand accountability from your local and national representatives elected to serve you. Today we're coming to you live from Campion College in St. Andrew. Once again, the 14th stop. Are you ready to get your advocacy on? Good. Well, let's start this advocacy and empowerment party like this. I welcome our Minister of Justice, our members of Parliament on the platform here today. And because it is a dialogue, I'm going to ask the Minister of Justice to introduce himself to you young people and tell you what is his role and responsibility as Minister and Member of Parliament. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause for our first elected official who will open this dialogue for us.
Hello everyone here at Campion College and also to all the viewers on television. My name is Delroy, Member of Parliament for North East St. Andrew and Minister of Justice, a proud graduate of Kingston College. As Minister of Justice, I have the responsibility to ensure that all institutions and the corridors of justice are easily accessible and that once accessed, justice is delivered in a timely manner. As Member of Parliament for Barbican, Grand Spence, Sandy Park, Jacks Hill, Millsborough, my duty is to ensure that all the citizens in the community, that they're well served, that they get all the necessary utilities, and that, you know, any complaints or problems they have, that they bring it to my attention so I can try as best as possible to solve and respond to their problems.
Good afternoon. I'm Julian Robinson. I'm the Member of Parliament for South East St. Andrew. So Campion College is in fact in my constituency. I'm also the General Secretary of the People's National Party, and I'm an opposition spokesman for science and technology.
My name is Anthony Hilton. I'm the Member of Parliament for Western St. Andrew.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Pauline Pink Bond. I'm a detective inspector. I'm also the legal officer for the Center for Investigation of Sexual Offenses and Child Abuse.
I'm Detective Sergeant Crook Sterling. I'm also a member of the Center for Investigation of Sexual Offenses and Child Abuse.
Thank you so much. Young people, we're going to ask you now to take over and ask the questions you need to ask. First question, please just tell us who you are, where you're from, and pose your question to whoever you would like to answer.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jordan Dresicki. I am from St. Elizabeth, Balaclava, St. Elizabeth. And my question goes to the Minister of Justice. And it states, what are the prospects for justice reforms targeted at creating a world-class justice system? I repeat, what are the prospects for justice reform targeted at creating a world-class justice system, delivering justice on time, effectively, and honestly?
May I just say that my first subject, which I love, was mathematics. So those of you who know probability, if it's not possible, it's 0. If it is certain, it is 1. The answer to that question is 1. In other words, it is absolutely certain that we are going to have a first-class system. The President Chief Justice has indicated that within 6 years, we hope to have one of the best justice systems across the world. As Minister of Justice, I will certainly ensure that resources are provided for us to have courts that are 5-star facilities. And what we want now is that the Chief Justice and the staff, the judges, the court staff, all the stakeholders within the justice system, that they deliver justice in a timely manner. Very interestingly, only today, that is Friday, the 9th of November, we saw a letter written by a lawyer to say that probates, one of the facilities we provide in the courts, when a person dies, you have a probate of the will of that person. Normally it takes months and years. The lawyer wrote in the papers today that he got back his probate in 6 weeks, which means that things are improving. And I have been on a campaign, and the Chief Justice is definitely along, that we are going to try to have probates and divorces settled within 6 months. And we want cases to be tried in the Supreme Court within 3 years, slowly down to 2 years, and in the parish courts within 2 years, and ultimately within 1 year. If we can do that, then you will appreciate it will be first-class service.
Thank you. Are you satisfied with that response, sir? All right. Anybody else want to follow up on that as it relates to justice?
Good afternoon. My name is Peyton Patterson. I'm from Rollington Town, which is in the Kingston Eastern constituency. I'd like to give some context for my question first. We can all agree that Jamaica has a gun problem with the propensity of gun-related crimes in Jamaica. So my question is to the Minister of Justice, Delroy Chuck, again. What is being done by the current administration in terms of legislation to protect our coastline, to stop guns from coming in to the country? Because we all know that Jamaica doesn't manufacture guns, yet there are so many illegal guns in Jamaica. So what is the current administration doing in terms of legislation to punish those who are found trafficking guns into the country?
Very good question. The point is that guns come in at various ports. We understand that quite a fair amount of it coming from Haiti, from Honduras, from Central America. It is extremely difficult to patrol and really police all the coastlines. In truth, only this year we are providing for additional aircrafts, additional helicopters. We're also putting in place drones, ships, to see if we can in fact identify traffickers who may be bringing in drugs and guns. More importantly, we have to capture those fishermen who meet drug and gun importers at various parts at sea and put them in their vessels, cover them with fish So when you check, you see fish on top, but it might be bullets and guns below the fish. The real challenge for us in Jamaica is to expose those who are buying the guns, using the guns, and it means that all Jamaicans, where they see persons using guns, that they expose them, we have to be informers. This concept of informer to dead must stop. We must protect ourselves, and the best way to protect ourselves is to let those who want to hold on to guns know that they will be exposed, and once they're exposed, they will stop carrying and using guns. Guns are a real problem in our communities, but if we expose those wrongdoers, in time, we can get rid of most of them. I know it is possible.
You have a follow-up?
Yes,
Ask it. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll get the response. Go ahead.
Just a follow-up on that. I heard you make mention of the numerous illegal ports or points of entry, and it's difficult to monitor those points. But what about the official ports? Because remember just last year the incidents of the several guns that were found in the shipment, and it was discovered, and there was a big hurrah about it, and it was a sort of 9-day wonder because we don't really know what came out of that. But for that one that was caught, I'm sure that there are dozens of barrels or crates that were not found and that came into the country, and these guns are in the country right now. So what is being done at the official ports to ensure that everything is checked and that these are not really just passing into the hands of?
Well, again, telling you a secret, but it's no longer secret. All the containers, everything coming in, are being X-rayed. So once you X-ray, it's possible for you to find out where the guns are, hidden in the containers or in the refrigerator or in the television set, but you have to check carefully the X-ray. But apart from that, the real challenge is the corruption at the ports.
We have to leave it there as we go to a break.
We have to get better at exposing people to where the opportunities are. But at the same time, they have to grab it.
Building a business is not easy. It requires a lot of effort. It means you're going to have to sacrifice a lot.
And him have a story and him a billing business, and now he's not here.
Let me not tell the same kid if I will call him. A lot of people think that man just sit down in a ghetto and them no want to do nothing with them life, but that's not really the thing.
I never even think that I could even be on TV.
And I'm here to tell you about my life story.
And this is my 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 story.
Here's my story.
And this is my story.
Because this is my story.
This is my story.
This is my story.
Up Yout in Jamaica. The youths there. Up Yout in Jamaica.
Welcome again to our Talk Up Yout Youth for Chat, Youth Empowerment Through Dialogue Town Hall in Kingston and St. Andrew. This is the 14th stop on the tour. The aim of our project is to increase youth knowledge of constitutional rights and political governance, increase your knowledge, young people, of methods of holding elected officials accountable. We want to build your capacity in youth advocacy and help you to develop an advocacy priority agenda parish by parish. Talk Up Yout, Miss Effie. We've been talking about crime, we've been talking about the guns, and I'm going to ask this next young person to ask the next question. Let's go.
Good afternoon. My name is Keanu Solan. I'm from the East Kingston and Port Royal constituency. Proud son of Woolmer's Boys School and in my final year at UA.
Who is your MP?
Philip Paulwell.
Okay.
All right. My question is to the officers from Sissoko. With all the crime that is going on right now, particularly sexual crime, DNA is a necessary factor in solving these crimes. So notwithstanding the legitimate and illegitimate concerns about the NIDS bill and recognizing that there also is a court case surrounding it, do you think there is actually a case for mandatory DNA submission in solving these crimes?
We actually use the DNA legislation, and we use it a lot. And what we find is that it assists us greatly, especially at the courts, because DNA, no two persons' DNA are alike. And so it doesn't matter if the person is denying the allegation. Once it goes to court, then it is borne out, because we, at Sisoko, we operate by using kits. I don't mean us, we mean the doctors there. And so by the use of the kits, they would put together whatever the evidence that they need in terms of intimate and non-intimate samples, and that would be placed in an envelope, properly sealed, and taken to the forensic laboratory. And after that, the persons at the laboratory, they would cause a test to be done or a swab to be taken from the suspect. And when that is done, then they would match. And if it is that it matches, then that is what they would use for the purpose of court.
I have a follow-up because a couple years ago I was a victim of a housebreaking, for instance, and though not sexual crime, back to DNA, the police officers came and took fingerprints. But the problem is that they had nothing to match it to. So the question is that not really the case, that why we need to have mandatory submission, a national DNA database where everybody has to do it, so it's easier to solve crime.
So you're talking like a DNA bank?
Yes, that's mandatory.
I don't know who would like to respond to that.
Probably the minister is the best one for this one.
Minister of Justice.
I think, as you can see, there's a lot of controversy with regards to the national identification. Certainly, although the Act provides for DNA, we don't intend to do it because of the invasive nature that a person will have to give some spit, urine, or blood in order to get a DNA sample. Plus, it's very expensive to get to do DNA. What we are planning to do, though, is to have fingerprints. So if the police finds a fingerprint, they can ask the NID Secretariat whose fingerprint this is. Now, that is not to say, they're not going to have any access to the NID's data bank, but they should be able to say they have found a fingerprint, and the NID Secretariat should be able to say it is so-and-so.
All right, thank you so much, Minister of Justice. Other members of Parliament, I want to move to jobs, but we're here on crime, we're here on NIDS, we're here on, sexual abuse. Would you like to add anything? Because I'm sure your constituents are facing the same issue of crime. MP Robinson.
Yeah, I think everywhere, certainly in the corporate area and certainly in the inner city communities, we have a crime problem. I would say they're driven mainly, there are so many guns and easy access to guns, and a lot of young men who, one, are not engaged in anything meaningful and don't know how to resolve conflicts peacefully. I think there are a number of interventions that have to take place. I think the issue of unemployment, while not directly related, does have an impact on crime, because all things being equal, if more people are engaged in something meaningful, they have less time to be involved in criminal activity. That's at one level. Although many of the persons involved in organized crime do so for economic reasons. So you have to deal with the issue of persons who either can't find jobs or lack the skills to get jobs. And then you have to deal with the ease with which persons can get guns. Well, you can rent, you can lease, you don't have to buy. And unfortunately, in many other communities, community members are reluctant to share information with the police about where guns are kept because they fear for their lives. And even with the best will with the justice system, eyewitnesses are targeted, and eyewitnesses are, in many cases, taken out. So I think you have to tackle it on multiple fronts. Deal with the issue of unemployment, deal with conflict resolution, deal with values and attitudes, and also go after the people who are the kingmakers, who are the ones who bring in the guns and benefit economically from the crime that takes place.
Thank you, MP. MP Hilton.
Let me just take up from where my colleague left off. The issue of crime and violence, I believe, also responds, and it's a response to intergenerational problems, poverty. Mainly in the inner cities, you have persons growing up in circumstances, many instances in which their own vision about what's possible for them is limited to a large extent about what they see in their immediate community and the kinds of friends they have. And so the peer pressure issue is an important part of it. I think if the interventions for opportunities, particularly to expose these young men and women to opportunities outside of their communities, will be an eye-opener, and has been an eye-opener for a number of them. But there's also the issue of exclusion in our society, in the way our society operates, so that you have uptown and downtown, and the two shall never meet. There's the wrong address issue, where if you apply and you're from a certain address, then the chance of you getting the job is almost nil. On the other hand, if you're from a certain other address and you have the network, then it's much easier to get the employment. So we have some underlying social issues that have to be addressed as well.
Let's talk about the visibility. We've been traveling to the 14 parishes, and this is something we hear from young people all the time. And many MPs have told us on our tour that they can't go everywhere, especially in some constituencies that are very large.
A challenge with the visibility of my MP. He is only seen when is election time. However, when there is violence and other issues affecting the community, he is not seen. However, how can we get him to participate of the community?
First of all, who is your MP? Do you know? Stand for me. Do you know, beautiful lady?
I think it's Philip Palwell.
You think? All right, let's confirm that, because knowledge is important. Is it?
Would be. For Norman Gans, it would be. But what I would ask you, there are multiple ways in which one can interact with an MP. I think in almost any constituency, someone could say they don't see the MP. First, most MPs, maybe on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, would have an office that they would go to, which is generally staffed with a secretary or an assistant who could take issues, deal with them, pass them on to the MPs. But most MPs also engage with their community-based organizations, whether it be the Citizens Association, the Youth Club, the Neighborhood Watch, etc. I know for sure for MP Palwell that on an annual basis he has meetings throughout the communities. He goes to different locations. So it may be a lack of information about where he does the engagement and where you could access him. But I do know he's active in his constituency, but you know, in a constituency that might have 50,000 people, if you don't know, you know, the CBOs and the other places, it is going to be hard to physically see the MP all the time.
I'm going to ask MP Hilton to respond.
No, I think just to add to what Julian said, it is also the case that young persons have to make an effort themselves. If you simply stay at home and expect the member of parliament to show up at home, then you're going to, fewer of you are going to see the member of parliament. So what you have to do as well is to join in the community other meetings. Many member of parliaments, I go to church, I meet people in church that I don't see ordinarily. I meet people in community meetings I don't see ordinarily. I meet people on my social media that I don't.
You're on social media, sir?
Yes.
There you go. They say ask your MP, but strengthen numbers, young people. So if 5,000 of you get together and call on your MP, I am sure they will turn up.
But I want to know though, when there's election time, MP, you don't find them find you?
With that said, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we'll talk about
We have to get better at exposing people to where the opportunities are. But at the same time, they have to grab it.
Building a business is not easy. It requires a lot of effort. It means you're going to have to sacrifice a lot.
And him have a story and him a billing business and now he's not here.
Let me not tell the same kid how we call him. You know, a lot of people think that, you know, man just sit down in the ghetto and them no want to do nothing with them life, but that's not really the thing.
I never even think that I could even be on TV.
And I'm here to tell you about my life story.
And this is my 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 story.
Here's my story.
And this is my story.
Because this is my story.
This is my story.
This is my story.
Up Yout in Jamaica, the youths there. Up Yout in Jamaica.
We are here for our hashtag Youth for Chat, Youth Empowerment through Dialogue Town Hall, Kingston and St. Andrew. This is the 14th stop. Getting our young people face to face with your who? Elected who? MPs, elected officials, right? And I'd like to welcome right now, this is the Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Pearnel Jr., Pearnel Charles Jr. Welcome to this town hall. It's not the first time we're seeing you, though. I think you were at one of our stops when you were the state minister in the Ministry of National Security. We already talked about crime, but we welcome you. Why are you late, sir? Where are you coming from? The Senate?
Coming from your Senate.
I'll Senate. Explain that to us. How many of you know what the Senate is?
Good afternoon, everyone. Well, I know that the Senate is the upper house in Parliament, and it has 21 members, 13 belonging to the ruling party and 8 to the opposition. That's what I know about the Senate.
Is that right? And what do they do? What are they responsible for?
To be honest with you, I'm not certain about that.
Please help me and inform our nation as to what you do as senator.
Well, he's correct that there are 13 government, 8 opposition senators. And we are the upper house, the legislative chamber, which is known as the review chamber, because our role and responsibility really is that the legislation is passed from the lower house up to us, and we go through the process of analyzing and amending as necessary the legislation so we can provide for our country the most effective legislation as possible. If amendments are made, it is then passed back down to the lower house for ratification, and that is how your laws are made in Jamaica.
Wow, who learned something new just now? Who learned something new? Raise your hand, raise your hand. You gotta participate. Raise your hand if you learned something new. Oh yeah, let's get this advocacy train on. Right before you came, we were talking about the MPs. And our young friend over here, stand up, Shanique Farquharson, 23 from Norman Garden, says she doesn't see her MP only on when? Election time. And we want to hear from this young man on that.
Pleasant afternoon, everyone.
What's your name?
My name is Omar Moody. I'm from Majestic Garden.
Who's your MP?
Angela Burke.
Okay.
Yeah, so pertaining to what the young lady said early on about the MPs, and I have a very important point to say about it. Not every MP know about commitment. They only trying to manipulate our brain with their sweet talk and try to grab us at a young age. And when it's time to do the work, they don't do the work. But not saying every MP are the same, because you have good and bad people understanding the world we live in. Yeah.
All right, so I want the MPs to clear their own names, because you need to declare that you are not manipulating any brains. So we're going to do it really quickly and start with you, MP Anthony Hilton. Respond to that, please, sir.
Well, firstly, I think it's very important that we appreciate that the work that members of parliament do can only be successful if we have a shared approach to it. That the citizens know that they can reach out to the MP as well as the MP reach out to them. If the stance is simply, we vote for you already and therefore we have not more to do, you have to come to us, then it's difficult. And the point that was made about election time is a time for campaigning where the MPs have to reach out. When you elect them and they're in Parliament, you have already assigned work for them to do. They have to be in Parliament, and for many persons, they think being in Parliament is only on a Tuesday. Many MP are most MPs, especially if you've been a minister of government, but not always. You're on several committees. Committees are meeting several days of the week. And then if you're in opposition, and if you're in government, then it's worse, because the government ministers have to be in very many places. So the point is that we have to have an appreciation as to exactly what MPs do and how they do it. And therefore, when they come into the community, what are the best time, the most appropriate places to meet with a member of Parliament. The suggestion that the MP can walk to everybody's house during the course of
it's near impossible, you're saying.
It's not a fair assumption.
And what you're saying, and it is like that globally, whenever there is election time, internationally, you will see the members of Parliament more upfront campaigning. But as he said, once you're elected, you have work to do, so you can't be out there campaigning 24/7.
But I think it's important, one, to understand the role of the MP and to understand what an MP can do and cannot do. I think a lot of the frustration arises from expectations which are not realistic. A lack of an understanding of what resources are made available to a member of Parliament, whether it be to assist with educational initiatives, whether it be to fix a road, clear a drain, etc. And I think that's a big part of the problem. There are expectations which don't accord with the reality. But I also think, to just reinforce what Tony said, there are many different communication channels. I get more communication via WhatsApp, text, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram from persons, in addition to engaging with the community-based organizations. So even if you don't physically see the MP in person, there are ways in which ordinary citizens can engage with an MP and get a response. And I engage a lot those ways in addition to the physical ways.
Yes, you are very active on Twitter, we know. And you have a new app called Meet Your MP, where I know, so what's it? Tell Your MP, where you can download the app and actually send in your issues and the things you want to see addressed. I want to give more young people a voice now as we enter into the zone of education and jobs. Most of you in our baseline survey said the major issue is lack of job opportunities. So we give you a chance now to speak to some of your leaders on that matter. Let's go straight to the floor. This young lady, please. What's your name?
Sabrina.
Hi, Sabrina.
And I'm 22. I'm asking this question, why aren't there more job employments in Raytown?
More job opportunities in
Raytown.
Raytown. Youth aren't being employed in Raytown.
The question I would ask you is, why are you confined to just Raytown? There may be opportunities not far from Raytown, near to Raytown, in terms of opportunities. I know, for example, call center business process outsourcing operation was launched at the Kingston Central Sorting Office, which is on Camp Road, not too far. They recruit persons, they are taking on persons. So I think part of it too is to find out, not necessarily in your particular communities, because not all the opportunities are going to come to you, but there may be opportunities close by which you can take advantage of. Because there's no one community where you're going to find businesses that are necessarily going to be operating. But you have to reach out and think through. I know, for example, and again, using the same BPOs, and that's maybe a different debate, but there are two that are opening up in Halfway Tree, one on Halfway Tree, two on Halfway Tree Road in the next couple of months, employing thousands of people.
So when the government has assessed the potential labor market, we have identified some critical issues. One, persons are not qualified for specific jobs that they're seeking. They don't have those who have the capacity sometimes do not know how to find the job. Persons have difficulties putting together even the resumes. So the Hard NTA has a range of activities that they're engaged in that will help you to be assessed. If it is that you need literacy training, they will direct you to places where you get literacy training. If it is that you have the qualifications, they'll carry through the process and help you with job placement. If you don't have the skills, they have specific areas that they've identified as areas that you will get the skills training and then be assisted with job placement. So if you see me afterwards, I can assist you in being connected with the persons that are in charge of those programs so you can be assisted with job placement further to an assessment as to what kind of qualifications and skills you have.
All right. Thank you so much. We're going to take this one on jobs on the floor. Yes, my friend. Talk up, you, Miss Effie.
Good afternoon, Jamaica. My name is Fabian Jerkett, and I'm from the constituency of West Rural St. Andrew, and I'm a first-year student at UWI. My question on jobs now is centralized and tertiary graduates. What measures are the government taking so that tertiary graduates can find a job, and not just find any job, but a job according to the degree that they did? Because I'm not talking about call center jobs. Jobs according to their degree.
So we try to take not just a Ministry of Foreign Affairs approach, but a whole of government approach to growing the economy and creating the space in the environment that will allow for the private sector to grow. If the private sector grows, then they will require more persons in the labor market. And you will organically see that persons will be able to move into jobs that are specific to their capacity and their qualification. Because we know that there is an inherent problem right now. What the government has is a graduate work experience program for those persons who have degrees and want to be placed in specific areas of interest. I myself have 2 graduates now working at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs who have bachelors in international relations and doing their masters in various areas, who are assisting with developing Jamaica's diaspora policy. And so they'll be fitted with not only the experience, but they would have been completely aware of the work environment and much better fitted to receive a job or to seek a job locally or internationally thereafter.
Well, here we are sharing that information, and hopefully we can work more on the communication between the government, the opposition, House of Representatives, the Senate, so that we can connect more with our young people. And young people, we have to seek the information and demand the information and demand accountability, because this is all about you, the most important asset in the nation, our youth. Talk up, youth, Miss Effie. We take a break, and when we come back, we hear from this young lady right over there. And this is how we clap in our deaf community.
We have to get better at exposing people to where the opportunities are. But at the same time, they have to grab it.
Building a business is not easy. It requires a lot of effort. It means you're going to have to sacrifice a lot.
And him have a story, and him a billing business, and now he's not here.
Let me not tell the same kid if I will call him.
You know, a lot of people think that, you know, man just sit down in the ghetto and them no want to do nothing with them life, but that's not really the thing.
I never even think that I could even be on TV.
And I'm here to tell you about my life story.
And this is my 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 story.
Here's my story.
And this is my story.
Because this is my story.
This is my story.
This is my story.
Up Yout in Jamaica, the youths there.
Jamaica, Jamaica, we are connecting our young people with their members of parliament, with their senators, because we care about our country, because we want a 2030 where we feel safe, where we feel empowered and educated, and we have opportunities for all people. I'm going to now, I see 25 young people asking to ask questions. We may not get to all of them, unfortunately, today, but let me just throw it to you, because you are the voice of Jamaica. Young lady over here, let's go.
Good afternoon. My name is Ashley Bailey. I'm 19 years old and I attend the Listomere Gilby High School for the Deaf. I realize that deaf people have a hard time getting employment opportunities. What are the steps that the government is taking to ensure that we get equal opportunities?
Equal opportunity. Any of you would like to answer that? Anybody?
Well, I can tell you, I know that the government has made it very clear from earlier this year that there's a drive towards a social and economic inclusion of persons with disabilities. And that was ratified by an allocation that was put in the budget towards rehabilitation, specific education, and even special training for persons with disabilities. So perhaps that is one conduit with which we can start the search for training and perhaps job placement for you. I know also from the Ministry of Education perspective, even for Labor Day, you saw that there was a very specific focus on persons with disabilities, perhaps not just hearing, but the theme of Labor Day this year was Ramp It Up, where the hospitals and schools were being fitted with the ramps for persons with wheelchairs to have access. And even today in Senate, we applauded our opposition senator, distinguished Dr. Senator Floyd Morris, who has been named as the CARICOM's Special Rapporteur for persons with disabilities. So it is definitely something that as a country and a region we're moving towards. Is more needed? Yes, but we're taking the steps in the right direction.
Thank you. Maybe she'll be the next deaf MP. We have the next question over here. Young lady?
Good afternoon. My name is Natar Anderson. I'm from Raytown. My MP is Ronald Thwaites. I'm not sure, but that was stated earlier. All right, my question is for the Senator of Foreign Affairs.
Yes, State Minister.
What are you doing to place jobs overseas? I hear you talk about other organizations, but at the end of the day, it's not really benefiting everyone. In Jamaica, we have leakage. It's a big thing because at the end of the day, students study here, but can't find a job here.
What do you mean leakage? Leakage?
Leakage is like, say for instance, like Canada. They come here, build stores, but yet still the interest doesn't stay here. It goes abroad. So it's not building Jamaica, it's building abroad. So in that case, we have leakage in education because we study here, but yet still when we go abroad, it's not a thing that we can come back here to get an employment, say in the next month or so. We can't.
Okay, so let me tell you, I understand your point. I'm not sure of the term leakage, but I think I understand what you mean. That sometimes the impression is that the interactions with international community may not seem fair to Jamaica, or we're not extracting as much value as we can. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So we are moving towards, matter of fact, all of the successive governments, even former Minister MP now, Anthony Hilton, who was at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, all of the governments have worked towards strengthening our partnerships with the international community. The goal, again, as I said, is to make sure that we create an environment where Jamaica is viable. That does not mean that when persons come here, they won't take money back home. What it means is that we want a situation where Jamaica can also explore possible opportunities for our Jamaican products to go abroad. That is why you have companies like Grace Kennedy and others that are exporting. So we are pushing to increase our export as well as to be able to decrease certain imports that are not needed so we can expand the place in Jamaica for you to maintain and retain jobs and increased good jobs in Jamaica.
Thank you so much. We also, as young people, need to think about how we're going to become entrepreneurs and create businesses, because small businesses and medium-sized businesses is what really builds the economy. So maybe we need to talk about teaming up, right, and building business, and the government will make it easy for us. Yes?
Let me say to the young lady that asked the question a while ago, it has become increasingly popular that university students now go abroad and work part of the summer, study, earn, and then come back in time for classes. I have seen that increasingly. You have also other programs. If you start with what they usually call the farm work program, where people go abroad, work on farms. The same concept has been translated in other areas, in hotels and in other areas. And so there are programs that are developed from time to time.
So we have to look for those programs. Yes?
Don't
Minister?
forget, the world is becoming a village, a simple village where you can move from country to country. And to the extent that Jamaicans can work in the United States, UK, Canada, there are many, many nurses, teachers, doctors, even attorneys at laws who are working in these countries. They go there, they get experience. The farm workers, the hotel workers, they go there, get experience, and they're contributing to the Jamaican economy because many of them return having earned a substantial sum. There are lots of nurses, teachers who work there in the United States, UK, Canada, and they retire back in Jamaica. So it is a village. Nothing is wrong with Jamaicans seeking to work abroad, get the experience, and hopefully contribute to the Jamaican economy.
We're going to take a question from this lady over here in blue.
Good afternoon. My name is Kashana Herdit. I would like to know, when will Jamaican Sign Language be an official language in Jamaica?
As you know, your sign language expert is always in Parliament, providing for those who need the sign language. We also have it in the courts. If we know that there are persons in the courts who are unable to hear and we need a sign language person to be in the court, then we provide for it. Naturally, if we start to live stream in the courts, it may well be that sign language personnel may well have to be put into the courts so that they can also broadcast or speak to persons who need that language. So it is quietly, slowly, but hopefully will develop fully so that it becomes, as you say, another language for Jamaica.
Thank you so much. Hashtag Youth for Chat. And deaf youths, you need to advocate for what you want in your country. We are going to this young man here. Young man, yes, you have a question on your cell phone.
My name is Jermaine Stevenson, and I'm from the Greater Portmore community. I want to ask a very profound question. Do you think that Jamaica under this current regime, JLP or PMP, so-called democracy, can get any better in terms of solving crimes, providing jobs in line with our field of study, and paying off millions of dollars of debt owed by us that we borrowed from the IMF? And I've been here 22 years.
On Earth?
On Earth.
Right.
Yes, and I haven't seen what these people are doing for us.
These people meaning your members of
yes,
parliament, your government, your opposition.
Government. Honestly, I don't see anything. And I'm currently out of school, right? From HCCS, Art College of Construction Services. And I left school August 31st. No, I've been observing some things in my community that needs to be highlighted.
I don't want to cut you because your voice is important, but because it's such a short broadcast, I want you to just, there's a lot. How are we going to pay off the debt that you will inherit? You've inherited.
Yes.
I'm going to come back to that. There are major developments. So which question you want answered?
The question is what is really put in place for us as Hard College of Construction Services students after we complete our courses.
But so many houses are being built right now.
Yes,
so many high-rise buildings being built. Hotels.
Yes.
Why aren't you getting
Exactly,
a job?
and
Somebody want to answer as we take it to the break?
I see Chinese building our roads and in our construction industries. So I don't see any Jamaicans or anybody in that leave heart out there doing government works, such as building those high-rising buildings and
Let's get a response, and then we're going to take a break.
Just to indicate that there are several persons who have gone through the heart program that have been placed across the country that are working right now. I know some specifically and individually who have gone through the construction program and other programs that are working right now. But I understand what you're saying. I feel your frustration. I hear the disenchantment. And that is why, as a government, we have to work harder. Successive governments have worked towards lowering our debt. We have been a part of this IMF program, and we're doing well so far in moving it towards debt relief. You would have read the news, and you see that the efforts we're making in national security to reduce crime, even though you don't feel it directly, crime is being reduced. In those areas where you have the states of emergency, the murders are down by almost 70%. Nationally, it's down by more than 20%. You would see yourself that the dollar itself is revaluing and strengthening, and on and on. So I hear you. I know that the government has to work harder to communicate to you the message. What I'd ask of you as somebody who has gone through the programs, don't just depend on the government. It has to be a dichotomy. The government can help through work experience and placement, which talk to me afterwards and I'll put you in touch with those persons. But you have to get up and go out there. There's a lot of private sector construction taking place in Jamaica now. There's actually a construction boom. So therefore, if you go out and go to the actual places where the construction is taking, just ask the foreman and say, listen, this is my skill set. Bring your hard training certificate and show them. You may get a job. I know somebody who got a job like that just 2 weeks ago.
That's a good response. However, the other question, which may not be answered today, is how much debt are we really in, and are you all going to pay it back? Please help me, and then we go to the break. Thank you, Minister of Justice.
Well,
how
first
much
of
debt
all,
are we
let
in?
me say that the debt has been declining. We owe probably under $2 trillion, but we always look at it in terms of GDP. Now, GDP is gross domestic product, which really is the value of what Jamaica produces. So to the extent that we have reduced the debt from 140-odd%, it is now just about 100%. It has been reduced dramatically. And we now are on a program that by 2025, the debt must be reduced to 60%. I just want to say this. We're not doing well in Jamaica. We need to do much better. But take it from me, young people. We're doing better than most of the countries across the world. When you go to Central America, you see those people trying to go on caravans to get to the United States because they have gang warfare, because they have so much crime, so much poverty, so much unemployment. What we have to do in our country is to reduce the crime, reduce the poverty, and try and create more jobs.
And with that said, we go to a break. Talk Up Yout, Masefi. We're extending this broadcast on television, so we will be back because we believe that your other voices are important.
We have to get better at exposing people to where the opportunities are. But at the same time, they have to grab it.
Building a business is not easy. It requires a lot of effort. It means you're going to have to sacrifice a lot.
And him have a story, and him a billing business, and now he's not here.
Let me not tell the same killers, I will call him.
You know, a lot of people think that, you know, man just sit down in a ghetto and them no want to do nothing with them life, but that's not really the thing.
I never even think that I could even be on TV.
And I'm here to tell you about my life story.
And this is my 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 story.
Here's my story.
And this is my story.
Because this is my story.
This is my story.
This is my story.
Up Yout in Jamaica, the youths there. Up Yout in Jamaica.
This is youth empowerment through dialogue, and we're going to go straight to our young people to ask their questions to their elected officials. Go ahead, young lady.
My name is Alia Thomas. I am 19 years old, and I'm from Bad St. Thomas. I would like to know what is being done to prevent our youths from becoming juvenile delinquents. Additionally, what programs are being implemented to target high school dropouts?
We have a program now known as Child Diversion. This is being implemented by the Ministry of Justice, and the idea is that when young people, especially if 17 and under, get involved in any delinquent activity, any deviant activity, we redirect them to child diversion officer who are psychologically trained so that they can assist them, working with them, getting a mentor to see if they can go on the straight and narrow path. So that once a person has becomes a wrongdoer, the police or the court will redirect them to child diversion officers. So that is what we're hoping to certainly avoid the juvenile delinquency that we see across the country.
Thank you so much, Minister of Justice. Young man, your question?
Good afternoon, everyone. Well, just to give some context of the question I'm about to ask. My name is Davon McDonough. Twice Deuce. I'm from Westmoreland. All right. Just to give some context of the question I'm about to ask, the last 2 elections has been the lowest turnout ever in Jamaican history. Prior to the start of the event, you had a intro which you said 80% of young persons have never voted. So I know my value. You need my vote. Both parties in this country, there's a diminishing demographic which your party is built on. So what are the measures that are being done by the government to actively pursue young people to vote?
Hashtag vote. I know that you want to answer this one, Member of Parliament, Julian Robinson. What are you doing to get the young people out to vote?
Well, from the perspective of the opposition, we have just put forward what we call our covenant, which is a set of policies and proposals that we would implement when we become government. So, for example, we have indicated that the first person in a family to access tertiary education will get it free, fully funded by the government. We have looked at how we can provide credit for persons who want to start small businesses based on the dormant monies that are in dormant accounts that are not being utilized. We have looked at how we can release the economic value through land titling, because there are so many Jamaicans that don't have land titles and can't use it to leverage. So those are policies that we believe some would be attractive to young people, which would encourage them to want to participate in the political process.
So when we talk about voter apathy with youth, you're saying that that's the approach. Would that get you out?
I deem that approach highly questionable. In terms, you're going to see is you're with a party, right?
Yes, clearly. I'm a
so you're speaking in points of you want to attract votes for that party. That's the manner you're speaking it. I'm asking, what are you doing for a person, the spirituality of young people?
The youth are not coming out and voting. How do you get young people to be excited about the democratic process? Is that the question?
Yes, because we are the future and the diminishing demographic of the both parties. Right now, we are the future young people.
Again, you see the frustration you feel? The frustration you feel is because you love Jamaica.
No, it's not for
and
me.
For
For
all
persons
the
in the
youth
room.
them, many of the youth them who are distanced from this system is because they don't believe in it. They don't trust it. And I know we as government have to do everything we can. Firstly, in our action, it must correlate with what we say. Whatever we say we're going to do, we have to do it. But the youth have to appreciate that it's not government want your vote. You must understand how strong and important your vote is.
Which is exactly how you...
Your vote is what is going to lead the
Hashtag
country
your vote
left
matters.
or
So
right.
thank you so much. We have to go to the next question.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Julian, and I'm 18 years old. I'm from St. Andrew. My question is, I want to know what is being done to address the current hostility towards everyday, normal Chinese Jamaican people.
Talk up you, Miss Effie. Discrimination is everywhere. Who would like to respond to that?
I grew up in rural Jamaica, where the common talk amongst all my fellow students as a youngster, 6, 8 years old, black a fancy, white a mulatta. That's what they... But I took it. I went to Kingston College, which was, and you just have to learn as a Chinese to interact, integrate with everybody. And after a while, you feel a part of them. Don't feel that they're discriminating against you. The truth of the matter is that we have a lot of Chinese who have come in as new Chinese investors. They need to integrate rather than staying amongst themselves, get within the community, get to know one another, integrate, and that will ensure that people will see them as a part of the community rather than just standing out on the side. So, like you are at Campion, if you, after a while, I don't think you feel as someone outside the Campion community.
No,
you feel very a part of that community. And I'm saying the same amongst your family members who may speak Chinese. People will mock them because of the Chinese language. Once they start to integrate with their neighbors, with the community, and feel a part of it, then that sensitivity, that feeling of hostility will disappear.
No, I get that discrimination is everyday life thing. That's quite obvious, all right? But I'm trying to talk about it in the context of the current, divide because of the whole, Chinese taking away jobs. That is what I'm talking about.
What would you like to see happen? What would you like to see happen?
I would like to see, Jamaicans and, Chinese Jamaicans just have, because I walk on the road, right, to go to Sovereign, and not every day, but quite oftenly, I have random people just tell me to, go back to my country and stop stealing jobs and all those stuff. What is being done, nothing is being done.
Is that illegal for people to do that?
Well, you're
just
going to
by
get
law?
that. Let's face it, you get that everywhere. For instance, I can assure you that Chinese in Africa, in Malaysia, the Malays, the Philippines, Vietnam, which is next door, and Vietnamese and Chinese look alike, very much alike. But the Vietnamese will say, go back to China. The same with the Malays. They have had many Chinese-Malays war. The same in the Philippines. If you look at the Filipinos, they look exactly Chinese. But the Filipinos also say to the Chinese, go back to China. The truth of the matter is that it depends on who the Chinese are, whether they integrate.
I think
if you fail to integrate, you are going to be seen as an outsider.
Thank you, Minister Truck. I want one quick comment about that, and then we as a young people need to deal with that together to make sure that we share culture and we understand, we talk about respect for each and every one. Start on the ground.
Just to say this, discrimination will be everywhere, but we should never just sit down and allow it. One of the things that I say in response to this misunderstanding is that just as Africans were brought here to Jamaica, Chinese laborers were brought here to Jamaica. So I believe that these Chinese have just as much claim to this country in that regard. Secondly, I'll tell you this, in relation to the current situation, it is a full misunderstanding. The government of Jamaica, in relation to its negotiation with China, has certain terms and conditions. And I believe that there is this perception that has been repeated, which is false, that the Chinese have come to extract everything from Jamaica, like Jamaica doesn't have sense to have a negotiation. We have very, very well-equipped and qualified persons who were involved in that negotiation. So we have to do everything we can, as leaders, as students, as everyday Jamaicans, to make sure that we rebut the misunderstanding.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We are still 90% Negro African, however, just want to say the majority is, and we all need to talk about this outside of this platform and keep our eye on the relationship with the government and China. And if you have a problem with anything, first you have to access the information, then you can talk to your representatives about the issue. But thank you for raising that, and we can talk after some more.
We have to get better at exposing people to where the opportunities are. But at the same time, they have to grab it.
Building a business is not easy. It requires a lot of effort. It means you're going to have to sacrifice a lot.
And him have a story and him a billing business, and now he's not here.
Let me not tell you, him kill it, how we call him.
A lot of people think that man just sit down in a ghetto and them don't want to do nothing with them life, but that's not really the thing.
I never even think that I could even be on TV.
And I'm here to tell you about my life story.
And this is my 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 story.
Here's my story.
And this is my story.
Because this is my story.
This is my story.
This is my story.
Up Yout in Jamaica, the youths there. Up Yout in
Young lady, go ahead, real quick.
Hi, good evening. My name is Racheli. I'm 21 years old. I'm a computing student at University of Technology. My biggest fear is that Jamaica is buying into the ideology that black people are just supposed to be entertainers and athletes, but a lot of people who are interested in scholarship do not have a platform to delve into that. A lot of the issues that are being raised, solutions, efficient solutions to these problems can be found through drives towards innovation, which comes about through scholarship and studying what is happening. So my question is, in light of the fact that we are actually the persons who are supposed to be coming up with solutions to problems and you're just the representatives of us, what kind of support is given to research and development, R&D, in driving innovation in Jamaica? Or is that a focus of the current administration?
R&D, yes. MP Hilton, apologies.
The direct answer is not enough. However, I think there's a clear recognition on the part of successive administration that R&D is key to unlocking the innovation and for creating employment and sustainable growth. I think that is understood. The way in which, because of the point that was raised earlier about the constraint with the debt to GDP situation, which is a real constraint, some would say a binding constraint, and doing a number of things that we would otherwise would do were the resources available. Creative ways are being found. So for example, I know when I was in government as a Minister of Industry, we created a number of programs in which an incentive was given for those who want to, businesses who want to undertake R&D, right? And who in fact undertake R&D. They were given certain breaks in the tax code to encourage them to do more of that. But I think from the point of view that you were raising, the universities and how we incentivize them, I think remains a challenge.
Very important to see for young people to recognize the importance of creativity, to be able to create your own risk-taking operations. Most of the rich people nowadays, the billionaires, start without anything. They became billionaires because they had an idea and took the risk and made it work.
Thank you. Young lady.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Nakisia. I'm from Southern Trelawney. My MP is Mrs. Filbert Dalrymple. My question is based on observation. I've realized that some persons from my parish, they have applied for the farmer card and they are yet to get any confirmation. My question is really because I've seen other persons who have applied after them and got through. So I want to know, how do they go about selecting persons for the farmer program?
My understanding, because I've asked as well about that program, is that it is reliant on the need. So remember now, even if persons are to get farm work cards, there's going to have to be a demand from the areas where the farming will be done. So that's the first thing. Secondly, the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, my understanding, is in charge of the process of distributing cards, which is done primarily through the members of parliament in those particular areas, and the members of parliament will have a process by which persons are assessed and then sent for further assessment to see if they are really farmers and if they're really going to be qualified and able to do the specific jobs.
So who does she go to?
So many
her
persons may get the card or may go to the interview and not get through. Everybody won't get it because you have about 10,000 people who want one card.
Thank
so
you.
You have to go to your MP's office and speak to them.
There you go.
There's a point.
I have to move to the next question. You know where to find your MP? Nod your head. Good. Get in touch with her Monday morning. Young man.
Hello. Good day. My name is Romain Lewis. My main goal right now in life is to become a motivation speaker towards young children. And my question is Is there a place for the hopeless sinner who has hurt all mankind just to save his own? What good is a man who won't take a stand? What good is a cynic with no better plan?
Huh. There's a question.
There's always a place. Matter of fact, I want to challenge you. There's a We Transform program that I started when I was in the Ministry of National Security. Right now, you can go to the Ministry of National Security. If you speak to me, I'll put you onto them. So you can go and try and motivate some of the boys that we have in the juvenile institutions. I take up that challenge. Come with me right after. I'll get your information, send it to the ministry.
But we're going to do a background check on you first. Make sure you make sure you're good. Right, Minister? We got to go to the next question because we have so many young people. Your voice is important, but afterwards we can have a one-on-one. And I want to hear your motivational speech too. Talk up you, Msefe. Talk up you. Yes, young man, your question.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Shamar Forsyth. I am 18 years old and I am from St. Catherine. Male marginalization is something that is happening now, and it is something that everyone is aware of. My question is, what is the government doing to correct and prevent male marginalization?
Is that something that the government can do? Anybody want to answer?
Talking about youth, so I'm going to get involved in it. Primarily because 90% of the young persons in our prisons are male. 90% of the persons who are dying and involved in the crime are male. And so, the Ministry of National Security, in conjunction with other ministries and agencies, have several programs. CSJP is one of the that is used to specifically identify males and also females in vulnerable communities. You also have other programs that are geared towards persons who are in violent communities who want the opportunity to be trained and skilled. Those are things which are done inside and outside of the correctional institutions.
Thank you. Minister of Justice.
May I just say, it's a major problem that we have this marginalization of our young males. The real problem stems from the home. Far too many fathers have boycotted or left their responsibility elsewhere, have gone elsewhere. Our young males from an early age do not have enough role models. And the father is the best role model. And then in the schools, we need some more teachers, male teachers, to be role models for our young men.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And remember to follow Talk Up Youth on YouTube as we focus and zero in on our males, lifting our boys, hashtag lift our boys, JA equals what? Hashtag better men. So follow that movement on social media as well. Yes, my lady.
Good afternoon. My name is Chevelle. I would like to ask a question about the NIDS system. A lot of us as young people don't know all that much about
No
it.
idea what NIDS is. All right, which one of you are best informed on the NIDS? What, is that the question? You want to know about NIDS? Yeah, I know. I connect with my young people. I know exactly what you're saying, girl. You answer the question. You answer the question, right?
Yes.
NIDS. Let's ask the Minister of Justice.
Well, first of all, as you know, it's a controversial issue at the moment because the matter is before the courts. But the truth is that it's the national identification system. There's absolutely no doubt that both parties agree that we should have a national identification system. There's disagreement as to the extent to which it should be permanent or the extent to which it should be mandatory. The position is that it is basically that everyone in Jamaica should have an ID, and that ID should be acceptable by every single institution, by every single one. When you show this ID, it should represent you and no one else.
All right, thank you so much. Next question. We're going to take the last set on the floor. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Glace Semme. I'm a student from the University of Technology. So we all know that sexual assault and abuse is a major issue in our society, especially against women. However, I believe that we ignore the fact that men and young men are also abused and sexually assaulted. So unlike women, we don't have advocates for men who are assaulted. So my question is, what is being done to let young men know that being assaulted is not okay and that they should report the issue?
I'm going to throw this, I'm going to demand that Detective Sergeant E. Crook Sterling from Sissoko responds to this one. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. For one thing, Sissoko has this outreach program. And this is what we use to sensitize people. We're in the churches, we're in the schools, we're in the community centers, we're on the roadside, and anyone call us to come to tell them about the roles and functions of Sissoka. This is what we do. We sensitize people as it relates to all these functions. And to the boys, because once upon a time, we used to be afraid for our girls, but now, we have to be afraid for our boys also. And most of the times when we are trying to sensitize people, the boys are the one who thinks they know enough and don't want to stay at these sensitization sessions.
See what she really wanted to know. The truth of the matter is that far too many young men, when they're sexually abused, do not want to report it out of sheer embarrassment. What Sissoka is saying, they also listen to assault on young men should not be afraid to report it to the police, avoid the embarrassment. Yes, I know it is embarrassing because not many young men would like to indicate that they have been abused. But once they're abused, they should report it to the police because it's absolutely important that the perpetrators should be brought to justice.
Another thing, once upon a time, when men used to go to the police stations to report these crimes committed against them, they used to be ridiculed, but not now. Every single police station or police officer, they are well sensitized, and so even the diverse community, we can't shun, and we don't turn people away ever. So yes.
We have to get better at exposing people to where the opportunities are, but at the same time, they have to grab it.
Building a business is not easy. It requires a lot of effort. It means you're going to have to sacrifice a lot.
And him have a story, and him a building business, and now he's not here.
Let me not tell the same kid if I will call him. You know, a lot of people think that, you know, man just sit down in the ghetto and them no want to do nothing with them life, but that's not really the thing.
I never even think that I could even be on TV.
And I'm here to tell you about my life story.
And this is my 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 story.
Here's my story.
And this is my story.
Because this is my story.
This is my story.
This is my story.
Up Yout in Jamaica, the youths there. Up Yout in Jamaica.
Next question.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Daniel Mullings. I'm 19 years old and a member of the UNESCO Youth Ambassadors. So my question revolves around unity in our government. I turn on the TV, I hear one politician cussing another one, or radio, newspaper, etc. What are we doing to ensure that it's not JLP versus PNP, but JLP plus PNP for more and mutual prosperity?
Well, just to say very quickly, nothing is wrong with JLP against PNP. And we have to get that straight because competition in democracy is good. You want PNP as an opposition to check JLP, and you want JLP as a government to be checked by the opposition. But what is important is for us as politicians, as people, to rally around national issues of interest. And so, for instance, national security. In speaking in the Senate, I consistently say these are issues that must be national issues. That is what you see in developed countries, where they can still hold their positions, and it's quite fine, but everybody understands this is required and necessary for our development.
I joined the speaker just before me. I'll also add, I think it is critical that we have a shared vision for this country. I think we have moved, one of the reasons why there's less hostility and differences between the two parties, although we have on particular issues difference of opinion, is I think the broad 2030 vision, which is an economic and social framework, where in both parties and civil society participated, gives us a framework, a common framework within which to do a number of things. But it doesn't mean that you're not going to have competition at the end of the day, as was said before, politics, like anything else, is a competitive activity. So to say that we should agree on everything is simply not a realistic view of democracy anywhere. I know it works, but I think I do agree with you that we can find, in many instances, more things to agree on than we disagree. And when we do, the manner in which we disagree sometimes leaves a lot to be desired.
Just to give a specific example, the Vale Royal talks, which started back earlier this year, is meant as a mechanism for both parties to sit down, to examine issues, to find where there's common ground. And I think it might surprise a lot of people, but we do talk a lot across the aisle in private meetings on issues of national cooperation. There is a lot of cooperation on projects and issues, but you're not going to get away in a Westminster-type democracy from the cut and thrust of the politics. But I would say there is good cooperation across the aisle.
Let me tell you this. The JLP and the PNP are much closer now than the Republicans and the Democrats in the United States, okay?
Well, there you go. And I can tell you, they all have dinner together and have drinks together, JLP and PNP. But when they go to the ballot box, nobody knows how they vote, but they vote for their party. But they still hang out together. So that's how we have to work together as well as young people, no matter which party you're voting for, which MP you're voting for. All right, final question for this broadcast.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Taj Honigan. I'm from St. George's College, and I live in Duane Park. My question is, what is the government doing to encourage or persuade individuals to stay in the country to prevent brain drain?
Brain drain. What's the government doing to prevent brain drain?
Well, firstly, I think it goes back to the whole of government multi-stakeholder approach to providing an economy that can allow the private sector to grow and provide jobs and opportunities for our youngsters. The primary reason why we have brain drain is because our youngsters do not see that they can get feasible and viable opportunities in Jamaica. So we are trying our best to not only provide that economic space, but as you've heard other persons say, understand the other variables that do so. Lowering crime, providing increased education and access to education, access to health. All of those variables are things that the government and opposition and civil society are working towards so we can get the Jamaica that we speak of with the Vision 2030.
All right, thank you so much. Clap, clap if you need to clap. Clap if you need to clap. This young man has been saying, I want to say something, and I told him he has 30 seconds. I can't help it. I just love giving youth a voice. So come on now.
Pleasant afternoon again, everyone. My name is Omar Moody. As you know, I'm currently working in the Ministry of Economic Growth Job Creation, and I'm a hope intern. I'm also a windscreen wiper. The whole program has given me hope, and I mean, helped me prevent me from being a menace of the society. And I mean, yes, I have to give the Prime Minister tremendous credit for this inspiration that he has created. And I know many more persons in my unit and in the whole program that it also changed their life.
Wow. So you're not wiping the windscreens anymore, because I haven't seen you out there lately. I'm glad you're in that ministry. This is good news. There is hope. Doesn't matter who you vote for. It's important that you vote. You have a right to play your part, and you have a right to hold your elected officials accountable. Thank you so much for giving us an opportunity to give the young people a chance to meet you all, members of parliament, representatives from Sissoko and the ministries and the Senate. We're glad that we could be empowered a little bit more. It doesn't end here. We've been on the road for 2 years in 14 parishes. We've trained over 300 young people in the Constitution, advocacy, and governance. And we will continue to empower you, but you have to stand up and take responsibility and go and be a part of the process. Hashtag YOUTFI chat, Youth for Chat. Search on Instagram, search on Twitter, search on Facebook at Talk Up Youth to join the movement. We are not a part of any political party. We are a part of the Jamaica Party. So young people, give yourself a round of applause for having a voice and being bold enough to stand up and speak up and talk up about the issues affecting you, because it's all about solutions. Have a great year.